Spider-Man! Yeah! Hello everyone, it's me! And today, Spider-Man! Are you ready for the death battle?
We now return to the continuing adventures of Theory Man!
Jerry!
Stole my purse!
Can't help you there, but did you know that Ant-Man could have saved half the universe by crawling up Thanos' anus?
Oh, thanks.
Theory Man, away!
Away!
Once again, the day has been saved. Thank you, Theory Man.
But her purse...
Thank you! Hello, Internet! Welcome to Film Theory!
Hello Internet! Welcome to Film Theory! Hello!
Where today we've got an episode that's sure to get all your Peters tingling. For
Tobey Maguire, Tom Holland, Andrew Garfield. Peter 2, Peter 1, Peter 3.
2
Yes.
decades, we've been
3.
inundated with Spider-Man. Films, series, video games, and oh so many memes. This summer's release of Spider-Man Far From Home gives us our 3rd live-action Spider-Man movie franchise in just 17 years. So as our universe, not to mention the rest of the multiverse, approaches complete
616.
Spidey saturation, it's time to figure out once and for all who wins the Spider-Man Battle Royale. Which Spidey reigns supreme? First, let's set our ground rules and clarify what this video is and what it is not. This is a comparison of the observable, measurable spider powers demonstrated on screen by our beloved webhead. Only the theatrically released feature-length Spider-Man films will be considered. This is not a popularity contest, nor is it a best actor contest, nor is it a best hair contest, because let's be honest, that one is no contest at all. Andrew Garfield, you have got yourself some remarkable hair. And what we're answering today is actually pretty darn simple. Which Spidey would win in a head-to-head fight? 3 franchises, 3 Spider-Mans.
One in the 40s, one in the 30s, and one in the 20s.
Tobey Maguire's Peter Parker and Sam Raimi's Spider-Man trilogy, Andrew Garfield's Peter Parker in Mark Webb's The Amazing Spider-Man franchise, and now Tom Holland as the MCU's golden boy, Peter Parker. In our theoretical battle royale, everyone is gonna fight in their standard costume. That means Tobey Maguire's character doesn't have to fight in his homemade human spider costume, but
Or doesn't have the Venom
he
suit.
also doesn't get the black symbiote suit either. Likewise, Tom Holland's Spider-Man doesn't have to wear his homemade costume, but
But he also cannot get the Tony Stark upgraded Spider-Man suit, Iron Spider.
he's also not going to get access to the Iron Spider suit or Stealth Spider suit featured in Far From Home. Our
True. Like this spells in like a new car in here.
goal here is to eliminate as many variables as possible so we can judge them based purely on their spider manliness alone. Our Spider-Man will be judged across 3 categories: strength, web, and agility, which necessarily takes spider sense into consideration. From those 3 categories, which ideally are boiling down the essentials of any good Spider-Man in battle situations,
The Spider Sense or the Peter Tinkle.
we'll be able to determine which Spider-Man reigns supreme. Round 1, strength. This one is actually a pretty straightforward category because the films give us really clear data to work with. It's actually incredible. It's kinda nice not to have to like backdoor our way into these things for a change. All 3 of our Spider-Men in their respective films basically do the equivalent of the Hercules hold from the World's Strongest Man competition.
True, all 3 of them are just really awesome individuals who I really respect. Saves everyone.
Tobey with a speeding train, Tom with a ferry that's been sliced in half, and Andrew with a car dangling off a bridge. So which super impressive feat is the most super impressive? In the immortal words of Olivia Newton-John, or more accurately for our case, in the immortal words of Newton, Sir Isaac, let's get physicsal.
Let's get physical.
Associate Professor Michael Milford and research fellow Juxie Leitner of Queensland University of Technology tackled the Hercules hold moment from Spider-Man Homecoming, determining that Tom Holland's character applied a force of over 31 million newtons in order to keep that ferry together, which he managed to do single-handedly for about 6 seconds before Iron Man eventually came and bailed him out. Now, that is a lot of newtons, but is it more impressive than Tobey Maguire's famous train-stopping scene from Spider-Man 2? To determine how many newtons Tobey's character applied, let's check in with Newton's second law of motion, shall we? Which tells us that the force exerted by Spider-Man is equal to the mass of the train times the rate at which he brings the train to stop.
So the legendary Newton law, FMA, F equals MA, FMA.
A New York City subway car weighs in at about 33,000 kilograms, and the train in this scene actually has itself 6 cars. Shots inside the cars suggest that the train is about half capacity, meaning that the weight of the 6 cars plus the weight of the passengers inside is going to be approximately 241,578 kilograms in total.
I really like it that MapPad included both kg and lbs, so that people who uses the different SI units will be able to understand. Thank you so much,
So
MapPad.
that, my friends, is our mass. As for our acceleration, or in this case, deceleration, we see Toby's character bringing the train from exactly 80 miles per hour to 0 miles per hour in 47 seconds. That means that the rate of deceleration is going to be 0.752 meters per second squared. Plug them into the formula and we get ourselves 182,000 newtons of force.
Yes, literally superhuman kind of strength. Of course, it's Spider-Man now, but awesome.
Which is way less than what Tom Holland's Spider-Man had to exert. I mean, let's give Toby's character some credit for pushing his body to the limits for 47 grueling seconds compared to Tom Holland's relatively breezy 6 seconds, but there is no way around it. Tom Holland's Spider-Man exerted over 170 times as much force in his Hercules hold. Tom's Spider-Man is definitely the stronger of these two, so where does Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man fit in? At a glance, holding a 2011 Chrysler Town & Country as it dangles over a bridge doesn't seem quite as impressive as stopping a train, and would you know it, it's not. The Town & Country has a curb weight of 4,652 pounds, but let's call it an even 4,800, with a kid inside plus whatever personal items the family might have in the trunk. Andrew's character is pulling directly against the direction of gravity, so we can easily use Newton's second law of motion once again to determine the force involved in Andrew's Hercules hold, which
9.81 meter per second squared, Earth's gravity on average.
comes out to be roughly 21,000 newtons. Now,
It's awesome, but in comparison to Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man and Tom Holland's Spider-Man,
that is a far cry from the force Tom and Toby were exerting. Plus, Andrew's grip eventually gives out after just 40 seconds. Get good, Andrew Garfield. So Tom Holland and the MCU Spider-Man wins the strength category in a landslide. He gets himself 3 points, Toby gets 2 points for second place, and Andrew gets 1 point for last place, but a point in my heart for that beautiful hair. Next up, webbing. Not only is it Spider-Man's weapon of choice, it's also his mode of transportation. So webs are going to play a huge role in any Spider-Man versus Spider-Man fight. Which of our 3 Spider-Man has the best, most versatile, strongest web? Spoiler alert, it's Tom Holland's Spider-Man, and it's not even close. Spider-Man in the MCU has the Tony Stark advantage when it comes to webbing. 576 preloaded web shooter combinations. Sticky web, ricochet web, taser web, stun web, spider tracers, rapid fire, web grenades, web wings. Web wings!
literally hundreds of different usages by a Spider-Man. Yeah, so he won. Practically he won.
People, there is no two ways around this one. Tom's character wins the web war, and he has the Tony Stark to thank for it.
But the question is, what happened to Tobey Maguire's and Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man? Who is number 2 and who is number 3?
So now it's just a battle for runner-up position. Andrew Garfield's webbing is also man-made. The downside to this, though, is that he can potentially run out of web fluid or get separated from his web shooters while in battle. The upside is that
yeah, that happens. That happens. He even recognizes it. It's a hassle, you know. Have to make it in the lab.
to tweak his web formula and make it impervious to electricity, for example. However, it's tough to imagine electricity playing a major role in a Spider-Man versus Spider-Man fight, so who knows how beneficial this improvement that we see in the movies would actually be for our purposes in today's episode. In Toby's case, meanwhile, his webbing is created in vivo. He's not able to manipulate his organic webbing, but on the plus side, he's never gonna run out.
Yes, it's like breathing. I don't do breathing, I just do it. Yeah, it's like red blood. Yeah, something like that. Something similar to that.
Except on the rare occasions when he's like, you know, super sad and stuff. But
existential
As
crisis.
impressive as Toby's train scene is as a demonstration of his strength, it might be an even more impressive demonstration for his webbing. His web's strength, stick, and elasticity are all on full display in a way that Andrew Garfield's web never is in the Amazing Spider-Man films. And if Andrew's Peter Parker had made more elastic webbing, maybe Gwen Stacy would have had herself a smoother landing at the end of the Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Oh! Ouch! That's going way too far, man. That is way too far. Come on, man. Oh gosh, haven't Andrew Garfield been through enough? But still, having said that, right, I have to agree with you, Matt. With No Way Home, he sort of redeemed himself by saving Tom Holland's Spider-Man's MJ, even though he lost his. Sorry.
So Tom Holland wins the webbing category hands down and receives himself another 3 points. Gotta give
Sorry.
second place to Tobey Maguire for that organic, unlimited webbing that's pretty much the equivalent of real spider silk, which yet again leaves Andrew Garfield's Amazing Spider-Man once again in the final position. Looks like Tom's running
Sorry.
away with this thing, but not so fast.
Champion.
There is one final category to discuss, agility. We'll use agility as a catch-all category for Spider-Man's nimbleness, speed, and reaction time, of which spider sense is a major part. First, let's acknowledge a couple agility similarities between our 3 Spider-Men. All 3 seem more or less capable of avoiding bullet sprays, and all 3 Peter Parkers have similar foot speed. Trust me, I went through their running footage frame by frame, and they're all just within a few miles per hour of each other.
So yeah, that's how much effort that MatPat makes into all of his videos. Respect to that, but do you seriously have to go through that detailed?
Nothing so major that it merits mentioning here. But reaction time is where the Spider-Men really start to differentiate themselves, because not all spider senses are created equally. Let's start off by acknowledging that all 3 Peter Parkers have sporadic use of their spider sense, at best. They all appear to have a grasp on it for only a fraction of the time, resulting in them getting surprised by things like this, and this, and this. But when they are wielding their spider sense, it's a metric we can totally use for comparison. In the first
True, their spider sense, Peter Tinkle.
Tobey Maguire Spider-Man film, there's a really useful sequence where we see his spider sense in action from Peter Parker's point of view. The fly in particular is helpful because we know a housefly beats its wings at about 200 times per second. From Peter Parker's point of view, that fly is flapping its wings 2 times in 2.625 seconds, meaning his spider sense is helping him see the world about 260 times slower than real time.
That's a very incredible ratio.
As for Tom Holland's character, there is very little evidence that his spider sense, or Peter Tingle, is very useful as it relates to reaction time at all. For instance, in Infinity War, his spider sense only tingles after Thanos' ship has already arrived at planet Earth, at a point where any normal kid on the bus could have glanced out the window and seen this thing. So his Peter Tingle seems to be more of a state of alertness rather than an ability to experience the world in slow-mo and react to life that much faster. As for Andrew Garfield, his reaction times do appear to be enhanced post-spider bite. I mean, snatching a fly out of the air is pretty darn cool, but it also doesn't necessarily mean that he's seeing the world in slow-mo to the degree that Tobey's character does. That being said, there is an argument to be made that Andrew's spider sense is way better than anyone we've ever seen in a movie ever. Consider this scene where he's literally dodging bolts of electricity.
Yes, so it is a case to be made. Tell me more, MatPat, tell me more.
A visible bolt of lightning travels at about 1/3 of the speed of light, or 220 billion miles an hour. So dodging a bolt of electricity is obviously far more impressive than, say, seeing the world at 260 times slower than usual. But is the amazing part of the Amazing Spider-Man the fact that he's actively dodging those electrical bolts, or does Electro just have himself a bad case of Stormtrooper aim? Let's look at those slow-mo clips again. If we go frame by frame, we see that Spider-Man is looking at Electro before the bolt of lightning is shot. We also see that he makes no elusive movement until after the bolt passes beneath him. Looks like it's fair to just chalk this one up to Electro's bad aim, or more accurately, the inconsistent CGI work from the people working on this movie.
Oh my gosh! Oh wow! It's like Star Wars, the stormtroopers, their aim is not very good, similar to that.
But wait, Andrew still isn't down and out just yet. Sure, he might be benefiting from Electro's bad aim in this one scene, but in another scene, we actually get a moment similar to Tobey Maguire's Fly. Andrew is seeing the world in a slowed down state where he pulls a Jimmy Neutron brain blast and predicts the movements of the electricity, foreseeing that it's gonna go up the handrails and eventually hurt the civilians reaching for them.
Wow! Wow, oh my gosh, Jimmy Neutron reference! Like it, man. It's just awesome. So nostalgic and childhood-like.
Then we see him able to react accordingly in order to protect them. Clearly, this means he's faster than electricity and thereby the fastest of all our possible Spider-Men, right? Well, yes and no. You see, he's certainly faster than electricity. The problem here is that he's faster than Electro's electricity. And when you actually stop and do the math in these scenes, these things are actually shockingly slow.
Huh?
Definitely intended. This battle is happening on the TKTS booth in New York City's Times Square. The top of this iconic stairwell is 45 feet across, and we see Electro's electricity travel to the center of that handrail in exactly 10 frames. For a movie that runs 24 frames a second, that's 5/12 of a second to go 22.5 feet. Extrapolating out that math, we see that Electro's lightning actually travels at the astonishing speed of 36.8 miles an hour. And when I say astonishing, I mean astonishingly slow. I mean, that is slightly faster than me driving through a school zone. But it's clearly nowhere close to the billions of miles an hour of actual lightning, and it is still significantly slower than the flapping of that fly's wings. Sorry, Andrew Garfield, I tried, but I just can't justify giving you the win here. The fly snatching is admittedly more impressive than anything Tom Holland exhibits though, so the totals have been tallied. Can we get ourselves a drum roll, please? All right, that's the best you got. In third place with 4 points, we have Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man. Gold star for being smart and sciencey and all, but this ain't no gold star contest.
But you must understand that he's, after all, an amazing Spider-Man. The amazing Spider-Man. And amazing Spider-Mans. Yeah, he's just a good role model for everyone.
Just like it ain't no best hair contest. I just can't get over it. Look at the volume of that hair. It's no wonder he's a movie star and we're just lowly YouTubers. Next up, coming in with 7 points, we have a two-way tie for first place. That's right, we all thought that Tom was gonna run away with this thing, but it turns out that Tobey has the grip strength to barely hold on. So there you
姜还是老的辣 OG.
You have it, folks. In the battle of Spider-Mans, there is no clear winner. We dug in, examined the data, and no clear winner could... Wait a minute, my theorist tingle is going crazy. I'm sensing a lot of you screaming at your screens right now because there's a Spider-Man movie I haven't mentioned yet. It's a
Spider-Verse.
feature-length Spider-Man movie. It had itself a theatrical release, and even though it's not part of a franchise, it should be considered according to the rules that I laid out earlier. That movie is, of course, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. But how do we go about comparing the animated characters in Spider-Verse to the live-action characters in the franchises? Pretty easily, actually, because one of our live-action Spider-Man actually crosses over into Spider-Verse, or at least one of his multiverse equivalents crosses into Spider-Verse.
Yes, think about it. Spider-Man's Peter Parker. Peter B. Parker.
See, there's a compelling theory that Tobey Maguire's Peter B. Parker is the exact same Peter B. Parker featured in Into the Spider-Verse. And the theory is supported by the fact that
They are more aged, they are more matured, they are more beat up, their body needed more recovery because of the age of all the Spider-Man thingy. As you grow older, the recovery periods of your body takes longer and longer.
the producers at one point considered casting Tobey Maguire as Peter B. Parker's voice. I mean, it's come out since after the movie's release that Peter B. Parker in the movie isn't actually the same Spider-Man that we see in the Sam Raimi movies, but he's definitely going through the same types of adventures and life experiences, so even though he's not the exact one, he's pretty much a multiverse stand-in for the exact one. So, by the transitive property of equality, that would mean that Peter B. Parker from Into the Spider-Verse equals Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man from the Sam Raimi trilogy, which would then also equal Tom Holland's MCU Spider-Man. They are all relatively equal Spider-Man. So if we want to know how Tobey and Tom would stack up against the other Spideys in Into the Spider-Verse, Spider-Verse, all we need to do is look at how Peter B. Parker stacks up to him. First, let's look at Penny Parker and the Spider-Bot. From their performance in Spider-Verse, we know enough about this duo to not give them the win. Despite being highly ranked on all the usual Spider-Man comparison lists, Spider is a dud in Spider-Verse and winds up being the only Spidey character defeated in the final group battle. As for Spider...
RIP, man. RIP. The only person that died. Literally died. So, Penny Parker and Spider-Man. Spider robot
when
thingy.
Spider-Man Noir and Spider-Ham, they don't necessarily prove themselves stronger than Peter B. Parker during the end fight either. All three of them fight valiantly and at least survive the final battle, but so does Peter B. Parker. No matter how badly I want to give this win to Spider-Ham, I just can't. These three cameo Spideys just didn't have large enough roles in Spider-Verse to separate themselves out from the rest of the field. Sorry, but that's all, folks. However, Miles gives us a lot to work with throughout this movie. He goes directly head-to-head with Peter B. Parker, who, remember, we've established is our Tobey Maguire character stand-in. Miles' invisibility lets him get the best of Doc Ock, whereas Peter B. Parker is easily captured by her. Plus, Miles successfully steals the goober away from Peter B. Parker without him knowing it. Later in the movie, Miles and Peter B. Parker go at it while fighting Kingpin, and in the end, Miles proves himself a better fighter by getting the best of Peter B. True, Miles is going against an older, out-of-shape Peter B. Parker, but the flip side of that coin is that Miles has only possessed his powers for a few days.
Yes, a few days, and that scene is really iconic. Take a leap of faith.
This point, he hasn't had any time to properly hone his skills and reach his full potential. Seems more than fair to consider Peter B. Parker's old age balanced out against Miles's inexperience. So in the end, Peter B. Parker, who's as strong a Spider-Man as our live-action franchises have to offer, gets himself bested by Miles Morales in a direct head-to-head confrontation. And that can only mean one thing: Miles Morales wins in a battle royale against all the different Spider-Men. Tobey Maguire and Tom Holland may portray the strongest Peter Parkers in cinema, but Peter Parker is no match for Miles Morales, the strongest Spider-Man in all the films.
Wait, does it mean that since he's inside the Avengers, Tom Holland's Spider-Man, does it mean that at some point in time it can be like strongest Avenger, but strongest Spider-Man? Point Break.
Just goes to show that the best Spider-Man film also happens to contain the best Spider-Man. But hey, that's just a theory. A film theory. And if you want to see more Spider-Man content, check out this video on the left where I analyze the physics of Spider-Man's deadly web slinging. Turns out that Spider-Man should have died multiple times over, regardless of his super strength. Or while you're here, make sure you click the button on the right to subscribe. After that, I'm off. Next week, let's take a break from superheroes, shall we?
Thank you so much. Subscribe! Thank you so much for your supportiveness and encouragement for your positivity as well. Thank you so much. I hope to see you all in my next video. Wait, did I just say for your positive? Wait, what am I saying? Gosh. Anyways, thank you so much for watching the video together with me. If you do like this video, please remember to... Thank you so much for watching this video together with me. If you do like this video, please remember to like, share and subscribe to my channel and comment down below if you have anything to share with us. Don't forget to follow my channel and I hope to see you all in my next video. But hey, that's just a theory. A film theory. And cut. Thank you. And I hope to see you all in my next video. Bye bye! Thank you. Spider-Man. Hit the subscribe button. Yeah. Thank you.